Hello, we're giving demand and supply as shown on the diagram. We do know that the income is equal to, or y equals 60,000, but in the first question I'm asked to find equilibrium price and quantity. I'm going to go ahead and find that without substituting in for y. So of course in equilibrium, quantity demanded equals quantity supply. So we'll just put these equal to each other. To find the p, we'll just put all the p's together on one side of the equality sign. So we have 5p, and I'm going to move everything else. So 1,000, and then the 200 becomes, plus 200. So this is what we have, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and what we get then is equal to 240 plus 0.01 y. Then I'm going to solve for equilibrium quantity, just plugging that in. So minus 200 plus 3 times 240 plus 0.01 y. So our equilibrium quantity is equal to minus 200 plus 720 plus 0.03 y. So that's equal to 520 plus 0.03 y. We know what y is, so now that we know, so let me just put some colors around these ones. So we have our equation for equilibrium price and our equation for equilibrium quantity. But we do know that that y is equal to 60,000, so I can plug that in to find the specific values of P and Q. So we have 240 plus 0.01 times 60,000, 240 plus 600. So our equilibrium price will be 840, equilibrium quantity 520 plus 0.03 times 60,000, 520 plus 1,800, so that's equal to 2,320. Alright, there's our equilibrium price and quantity. On the next slide, I will find some comparative statics, some derivatives. Okay, so here we're going to find the comparative statics. That is what happens to equilibrium when something changes. And in this case, there's going to be a change in income. So y is going to change. So we find the change in equilibrium price with respect to a change in income, just taking the derivative 0.01. And then we take the derivative of the equilibrium quantity with respect to income plus 0.03. So that's pretty straightforward. We could then think about what will be the equilibrium after a change in income from 60,000. So I'm going to write here income was equal to 60,000, but then it decreases to 56,000. So it's going to have income's going to go down by 4,000. And the change here is, of course, we can see that when income changes by 1, price will change by 0.01, and when income changes by 1, quantity demanded or equilibrium quantity will change by 0.03. So since the change in output is equal to 4,000, we know that the change in price will be equal to 4,000 times 0.01, which is equal to 40, and the change in quantity is going to be equal to 4,000 times 0.03, which is 120, and they're both moving in the same direction because our partial equilibria or partial derivatives here are positive. So we can just predict. We know that in the first equilibrium, price was equal to 840. oh, well, of course, the change in income was a negative, and therefore everything is going to be negative here as well. So price was 840, now it's going to fall to 800, and quantity demand was equal to 2320, and now it's going to fall by 120, so it's going to be equal to 2200. Let's just double check that maybe just to make sure. So if I were to solve for equilibrium price and quantity, given that income is equal to 56,000, then of course we would, once again set quantity demanded equal to quantity supplied. 1,000 minus 2p plus 0.05, and then we plug in for 56,000 instead of the 60,000 that we did last time, equals minus 200 plus 3p. Solving this one, we have 5p equals 1,000 plus 200 plus 0.05 times 56,000. Well, that one, well, it's pretty straightforward, but let me just do that quickly. 56,000 times 0.05, that's equal to 2,800. So we have 5p equals 4,000. P equals 4,000 divided by 5, which is 800. Look, that matches. And quantity would be equal to minus 200 plus 3 times 800 is equal to 2,400 minus 200, 2,200. Again, it's a match. Excellent. So here's the new equilibrium. And finally, we're going to go and look at a subsidy and see what happens when you have a subsidy. Okay, now we're thinking about after the pandemic, the income is low, 56,000, but the government's going to give a subsidy equal to 25. So I draw the diagram over here. So, before the subsidy, we were right here. Of course, originally we were up here before the income fell, right? So maybe I'll just pin in some numbers here so we can see what's actually going on here. So we used to have price equal to 840 and a quantity equal to 2320. Then after the fall in income, price fell to 800 and quantity in the market fell to 2200. And now the question is, what will happen to price and quantity after the subsidy? Of course, here I just drew a random line, a shift of the supply curve, but given our equations, we can actually figure out exactly what that impact will be. So that's what I'm going to try to do right now. All right, the first thing we need to see here is that with a subsidy, the price that consumers pay, which is going to be this new equilibrium price, is going to be different from the price received by the producers who get the subsidy plus the market price, and therefore they're going to get P plus S. So quantity supply is going to be determined by P plus S, whereas quantity demand is determined by just P. All right, so now I'm just going to plug in for our demand and supply function. And we know that the income is equal to 56,000. But remember, quantity supplied is determined by P plus S, so I have to plug that in for what normally would just be a P. All right, so going ahead and just solving this one here, we have 3,800 minus 2P equals minus 200 plus 3P plus 3S. Solving for P here, we have done this already, so we have 5P equals 4,000 minus, because I have to move this one over, minus 3s. Or P, the new equilibrium price is going to be 800 minus 3/5 times S. Alright, again, here I'm solving it for any S, although we do know what the S will be. But if I just plug that into our supply function, and we get that the quantity is equal to minus 200, 2,400 minus 9/5 S. Quantity is equal to 2,200 minus 9/5 S. And of course we can see here that if S was equal to 0, then our equilibrium would be 800 price, 2,200 for quantity, but equilibrium or the subsidy is not equal to 0. In fact, S equals 25, and using those we can easily find the new equilibrium price, which is 800 minus 3/5 times 25, so that's going to be, that's just this term here is just 15. So our new equilibrium price will be 785, and quantity is going to be 2,200 minus 9/5 times 25. Well, this here is of course 45, so 2155. I believe that would be equal to. Oh no, here I made a mistake. Well, stop it. Do you see what mistake I made here? Alright, so I'm going to erase. Right. I plugged in this market price, 785, into our supply function, but suppliers, producers, don't face the market price. What they face is P plus S, right? So they actually get 785 plus the subsidy, which is 25, and therefore they actually get 810. All right, this is the key thing. So to find the quantity supplied, we will have minus 200, 3 times 810, minus 200 plus 2,430, which is equal to 2,230. Now, if I wanted to find quantity demanded at the equilibrium, I would have to plug in the actual price. So quantity demanded is, of course, well, what we have that. So we have 3,800 minus 2 times the price facing consumers, 785. So we have 3,800 minus 2,000. What is that equal to? 1,570, and then subtracting that it's going to be 2,230. All right, so now these two match up, which we know must be true in equilibrium, because in equilibrium is where quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. All right, so we have here then, notice in blue, so our quantity is 22,030. Our price paid by consumers is 785, but the price received by producers is 810. So now you can see how it shows up in our diagram as well. And the last question was, of course, do consumers purchase more or fewer fast casual restaurants? Well, before the subsidy, but after the pandemic, they consumed 2,230. No, that's not right. They consumed 2,000. Sorry. They've consumed, before the subsidy, 2,320. Oh, what am I saying here? So This is before the pandemic, and then the income was actually equal 60,000. So yeah, they did consume 2,320. After the pandemic, plus the subsidy, they consumed 2,230. That is, they consumed 90 fewer meals after the pandemic, even with the subsidy. All right, thank you very much.